What if the father doesn't make enough money to pay his child support? I'm Tulsa attorney James Wirth. That's the question that we've received is, what if the father, who is obligated to pay child support pursuant to a court order that set a specific amount, what if he doesn't make enough money to pay that? Well, first of all, you should know in Oklahoma, child support is determined by the Oklahoma child support guidelines. So the judge doesn't have a ton of discretion on it. Unlike spousal support, where the judge has wide discretion, can determine the amount any number of different ways. With child support, the judge has very little discretion for the most part and goes by the Oklahoma child support guidelines. The primary factors in the Oklahoma child support guidelines is the income of both of the parties. So it should be based on what that person is actually making. And because of that, there shouldn't be a situation where the person does not make enough money to afford it unless there's been a change of circumstances or there was something wrong with the original order. So a lot of times somebody might not show up to court. The other party could default them, and then the court comes up with the best information they have regarding income, enters a child support order. So if that's what happened here, then you want to look at seeing if you can get that order vacated that was entered by default or filing for a modification. Or it could be that when the order was entered, it was based on the father's income at that time, but the income has since been reduced. And now he can't afford to pay the child support because he's not making what he was then. If that's the case, then he would definitely want to get into court and file a motion to modify. Child support cannot be modified retroactively. It can only be modified back to the date that you file a request to modify. So the sooner he gets in to file that motion to modify, the better, so that when the new amount is determined based on the incomes at that time, it can be retroactive to the date of filing. Every month that goes on without filing is another month at a higher child support that may be more than you can afford. So under the Oklahoma child support guidelines, although child support can be high, particularly if you have a number of children under that order, it is based on the guidelines, so the court's not going to say that's an unreasonable amount and is not going to say that the father can't afford it unless it's based on incorrect numbers because they have changed or because they were incorrect at the time they were entered, maybe because it was a default order. So if the father cannot pay the child support, cannot afford to pay the amount, you're going to want to have an attorney look into that to see what numbers they're based on. Look at the order that was entered, look at the child support guidelines, see what's entered for the father's income. Is that the amount he's currently making, or is he making less than that? If it's less, you probably have grounds to modify that child support, want to get it on file as quickly as possible. But if you're dealing with a circumstance, don't just take this information from this general video. You're going to want to talk to an attorney privately and confidentially about your specific circumstances. To get that scheduled with an attorney at my office, go online to makelaweasy.com.